Imagine this. You give your child a packed lunch that, without you knowing, contains more sodium than a family-sized bag of chips and traces of lead. No, this isn't the plot of a low-budget dystopian movie. It's the true story of Lunchly, the product born from the holy trinity of YouTube. Mr. Beast, KSI, and Logan Paul promised a healthy revolution for kids' lunches. Instead, they gave us a PR disaster with extra drama thrown in. This isn't just a failure, it's a masterclass in how influencer arrogance can crash headfirst into cold, hard reality. To understand Lunchly's meteoric rise, you first have to understand the battlefield it landed in, the school lunch aisle. For decades, parents have been trapped in an existential dilemma. On one hand, there's the ideal of preparing homemade, nutritious, Instagram-worthy lunches. On the other hand, there's the crushing reality of chaotic mornings, where finding 2 matching socks is already a victory. In this chaos, products like Lunchables became king, selling convenience in a plastic tray at the cost of an ingredient list that reads like a chemistry exam. People hated them, but they bought them anyway. There was a gap in the market for something just as easy, but that at least pretended to be healthy. And then, in October 2023, from the heights of influencer Olympus, the solution arrived. Logan Paul and KSI, still riding the wave of success from their Prime drink, announced it as Prime 2.0. Mr. Beast only needed a single tweet to generate 30 million views. The idea was so simple it hurt. Copy the Lunchables model, swap out the sugary juice for a bottle of Prime, and slap on a giant label that screamed, "Healthier." The hype was instant. Within days, Walmart cleared entire shelves and some Target stores had waiting lists, as if it were the new iPhone, and not just a piece of processed cheese with crackers. Was this really what kids needed? Or was it just a brilliant marketing strategy wrapped in cellophane? The trick to their business wasn't the product itself, but the distribution channel for their marketing. They weren't targeting the parents, the ones who actually buy the food. No, they were aiming directly at the kids through a phenomenon known as pester power. They flooded YouTube and TikTok with vlogs where they ate Lunchly, gave it away in raffles, and integrated it into their entertainment content. It's a gray area that the United States Federal Trade Commission still treats as sponsored content, not as traditional advertising. Basically, they use the algorithm as a Trojan horse to bypass the rules that prevent junk food ads from appearing during Saturday morning cartoons. Isn't innovation great? This model isn't new. It's a classic from the corporate strategy playbook. It's exactly what the toy industry has done for generations, creating an artificial need in children through cartoons so that they then pester their parents at the supermarket. We see it in video games with microtransactions, where addictive game design pushes younger players to ask their parents for their credit card to buy a digital skin. Lunchly simply adapted this tactic to the influencer era, turning every child with a smartphone into an unwitting sales agent in their own home. The product doesn't have to be good, it just has to be wanted by the right person. But what happens when people finally try the product? It didn't take long for the first crack in the armor to appear. Just a week after the launch, Lunchly's nutrition labels were leaked on Reddit, and the excitement turned into outrage. A viral post pointed out that the turkey version contained 810 milligrams of sodium, about a third of the recommended daily intake for an 8-year-old child. 810. Then, it was discovered that their eye-catching claim of 25% less sugar was only true when compared to a single variety of Lunchables that included a cookie and a juice. Compared to a standard kit, the difference was almost non-existent. And the real cheese? The ingredient list told a different story, full of sodium phosphate and preservatives. It was like discovering that your favorite superhero is actually just a guy in pajamas. Despite the criticism, the initial impact was huge. They boasted $100 million in pre-sales before the product even hit the shelves. But the real data told a very different story. According to Nielsen figures, Lunchly generated around $92 million in retail sales in its first year. An impressive figure for you and me, but light years away from the billion they had promised. By the third quarter of 2024, revenue had plummeted 64% compared to the previous quarter. In the business world, that's not just a warning sign. It's the siren of a sinking submarine. The social impact was even worse. A new wave of pressure for parents, forced to choose between their children's health and peace in the supermarket aisle. So how can you beat a marketing Goliath like this? Well, just like in a scene from Ocean's 11, where the team plans the perfect heist, parents on the internet came up with a clever hack, the homemade lunchbox. It turns out you can buy higher quality turkey, real cheese, whole grain crackers, and a piece of fruit for a fraction of the cost of a Lunchly kit. How crazy is that? The best money-saving tip is simply to ignore the shiny box and spend 5 minutes putting together your own version. You can use small reusable containers to keep everything separate and fresh. Not only is it cheaper and healthier, but you also avoid exposure to lead. Yes, you heard that right. And the real problem was about to come to light. The reason Lunchly was able to get away with it for so long is because of a regulatory loophole the size of the Grand Canyon. The US Food and Drug Administration has strict rules for television advertising aimed at children. But the world of influencer content is the Wild West. There's no clear framework to regulate health claims made in a 20-minute blog. Influencers can say almost anything under the label of opinion or entertainment. This legal loophole allowed them to position Launchly as a healthy alternative without having to back it up with rigorous scientific evidence. A trick they exploited until the very end. But how long could the party last? At its core, Launchly's success wasn't based on nutrition, but on the economy of convenience. They were selling a magic solution to a real problem: lack of time. Modern parents are exhausted, juggling work, home, and parenting. Launchly wasn't selling food. It was selling 5 extra minutes of sleep in the morning. It's the same principle that drives food delivery apps or pre-prepared meal kits. They promise to simplify your life, and in exchange for that simplicity, you're willing to pay more for a lower quality product. It's a brilliant business, as long as no one looks too closely at what's inside the box. And people started to look. In December 2023, the respected organization Consumer Reports conducted independent laboratory tests on Launchly kits. What they found was alarming. Each of the kits contained measurable levels of lead. They also found phthalates, the same plastic chemicals present in the original Lunchables, which are linked to hormonal and developmental problems. And then came the final blow. In January 2024, viral videos of mold started to appear. Green, fuzzy mold on the cheese in freshly opened packages. In Spain or Latin America, where a simple ham sandwich or a milanesa torta makes for a much healthier lunch, this seemed like a bad joke. The company quietly asked stores to pull 2 product lines from their shelves. No press release, no apologies, just silence. All of this was wrapped up in a masterful user experience design. The Launchly box was a work of art and deception. Vibrant colors, smiling children playing soccer, keywords like electrolytes and immune support everywhere. The design was meant to shout healthy and fun from the shelf, distracting parents from the fine print on the back. Prime Drink was the crown jewel with its promise of 10% coconut water. In other words, 90% water with artificial sweeteners and about as many vitamins as you'd get from eating a single orange. It was the perfect makeup for a deeply flawed product. Today, Launchly has gone from being the next big thing to a running joke on the internet, a meme about influencer snake oil. Amazon has already buried it under generic brands, and grocery stores have relegated it to the shameful clearance bin at the end of the aisle. The founders, for their part, have already moved on to the next trend, handling the crisis with deafening silence or with vague excuses about humidity issues in the supply chain on some podcast. There was never a real apology. The brand isn't officially dead, its website is still up, but its spirit, its hype, has completely faded away. It's a ghost in the supermarket. In the end, we return to the same plastic tray we started with. The story of Launchly is the ultimate proof that fame can create hype and fill shelves, but it can't fake nutrition or hide a low-quality product. They promised parents a better lunch and delivered processed meat with an energy drink. They promised kids fun and a sense of belonging, and gave them a tray of chemicals and empty calories. The market, in its slow but relentless way, did what regulators often can't. It punished dishonest marketing faster than any PR team could react. The next time an influencer tells you they've reinvented food, do the one thing they don't want you to do: read the label. Now I'd like to know your opinion. Do you think influencers should be legally responsible for the health claims they make about the products they promote? And as a parent or consumer, what influences you most when buying a new product? Is it a recommendation from someone famous or the list of ingredients? If you found it fascinating how one drink could be at the center of so much chaos, you have to see the story of its older sibling. Click here to discover the satisfying downfall of Prime, because this saga has many more chapters.